This screencast is going to show you how to divide decimals. So as you can see on the screen is our algorithm for dividing decimals. So the first thing you're going to do is change the divisor, which is the second number in a division problem, into a whole number by moving the decimal to the right. And then you're going to move the decimal in the dividend, which is the first number in a division problem, the same amount of times as you moved it in the divisor. So if you moved it twice in the divisor to get to a whole number, you're going to move the decimal point twice in the dividend as well. Then your third step is to bring up the decimal point and divide as you would normally do with any other division problem. So let's go ahead and review some key points about division. So if you look at the screen, you'll see that we have the problem 5.2 divided by 1.3 equals 4. And we have some key terms that we definitely need to remember when we are dividing decimals. And the first term is that the first number in a division problem is called our dividend. And I always remember that because this number is on the end, so that would be my dividend. The second number is our divisor, or what we are dividing by. So what we're splitting up our dividend into. And then finally, our third key vocabulary word is our quotient, which is the answer to a division problem. So as you can see off to the right-hand side, that I'm circling in purple, is how you would then rewrite this problem using long division and our long division sign. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples using our algorithm for dividing decimals. So the problem that we have is 12 divided by 4/10. So as my steps say, I need to first change the divisor into a whole number. This is my divisor, 4/10. I need to change that into a whole number. So I'm going to move my decimal point over one space to the right to make this now a 4. Because I moved the decimal point over one space in my divisor, I also have to move my decimal over one space in my dividend. So when I take my decimal point and move it over one space, I then have to fill in a 0 because there's not a number currently there. So now I'm going to have 120 divided by 4. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that using my long division symbol. So I'm going to draw my house. First number goes inside the house, second number goes outside the house. So now I have my division problem of 120 divided by 4, which looks a lot simpler than 12 divided by 0.4. So I'm going to go ahead and solve that. And you'll see I went through my steps. I saw that 4 went into 12 3 times, and then I got a remainder of 0. Well, 4 can't go into 0, so I know that it's going to be a final answer of 30. So 12 divided by 4/10 is equal to 30. If I look at my second example, I have 22.6 divided by 3. Because my divisor is already a whole number, I don't have to worry about moving the decimal point. So I'm just going to go ahead and set up my problem. So I have 22.6 inside my house and 3 is outside my house. And I'm going to go ahead and solve. 3 can't go into 2, but it can go into 22 7 times, which gets us to 21. I have a remainder of 1, and I bring down my 6. 3 can go into 16 5 times. So I'm going to put a 5 above my 6 and have 15. Subtract again, I get a 1. I'm going to pause for a second because I forgot a very important step, which is bringing up my decimal point into my answer. So remember to bring your decimal point up into your answer. And now I'm going to continue by adding zeros until I either find that my decimal is a repeating decimal or it ends making it a terminating decimal. So as you can see with this problem, my answer or my quotient is actually a repeating decimal. So that means that my final answer would be 7.53 repeating. My next example is 4 88/100 divided by 8/10. So I'm going to move my decimal point over one space to the right to make this an 8. I'm going to move my decimal point over one space in my dividend, making this 48.8. So now I have 48.8 divided by 8. I'm going to go ahead and set up my problem, and then I'm going to solve. You'll see that when I solved, I found that 8 can go into 48 6 times, giving me a remainder of 0. I brought down my 8. 8 can go into 8 one time, which means that my final answer to this division problem of 4 and 88 divided by 8 would be equal to 6 and 1/10. Our final example is looking at a division problem where you're actually going to move the decimal point 2 spaces in the divisor and then 2 spaces in your dividend, and you're going to have to add that 0 again, meaning that my new division problem is 540 divided by 12. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my division problem of 540 divided by 12, and I'm going to solve. So I can see that 12 goes into 54 4 times, which would be 48. I subtract and get a 6, bring down my 0. I don't have a decimal point to bring up into my answer, so I'm going to keep solving. I know that 12 goes into 60 5 times, and 5 times 12 is 60, so I have a remainder of 0. This tells me that my final answer would be equal to 45. So 5 and 4/10 divided by 12/100 is equal to 45. So real fast, let's just review our dividing decimal algorithm. We're going to change the divisor into a whole number by moving the decimal to the right. If there is no decimal, then you don't have to change anything in your division problem, you would just solve. Second step is to move the decimal in the dividend the same amount of times as you moved it in the divisor. And then finally, remember to bring up the decimal point and divide to find your final quotient or answer.